मम ज्ञानतिमिरस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विशुद्धाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनि नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिसिद्धान्त सरस्वती नामिने। श्रीवासवाणी देवी दायिताय कृपाते कृष्ण संबंध विज्ञान दायिने प्रभवे नमः। माधुर्योज्जल प्रेमाख्य श्री रूपानुगपत्या श्री गौर करुणा शक्ति विग्रहाय नमोस्तुते। नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्री मूर्तये दीनतारिणे रूपानुग विरुद्धाप सिद्धांत हारिणे। नमो गौर किशोराय साक्षात् वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलंब सांबोधेवानां पूजायते नमः। नमो भक्ति विनोदाय सच्चिदानंद नामिने गौर शक्ति स्वरूपाय रूपानुगमनायते। गौर विभाव भूमिस्पन्दितेश सज्जन प्रियं वैष्णव सर्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरकृष्णे नमः। पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूप स्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकाकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। जय राम सुरतो भंगोर्मम मन्दमते गति मत्सर्वस्व पदाम्बोजो राधा मदन मोहनम् दिव्यातृङ्गारण्यकल्पद्रुमः श्रीवररत्नागारसिंहासनस्थ श्रीमद्राधा श्रीलगोविन्द देवो प्रेष्ठालिभिसेव्यमानं स्मरामि। श्रीमातरासरसारम्भी वक्षीवटतटस्थितः कर्षणवेणुस्मरैर्गोपी गोपीनाथ श्रीरस्मनः। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। आप कंफर्टेबल हो इस चेयर में? सोफा में बैठ सकते हैं? You know, there's a big chair inside. You can just bring and ask him to give you better. ये थोड़ा ठीक है ना? Hare Krishna. So, welcome everyone. Good evening. So, since we have Ram Navami coming up next week, so I thought we will have something about the Lord's coming to this world. So there are three sources of what I am trying to talk today. Govind Prabhu spoke something in this connection in Kurukshetra about the Lord coming to this world. Then there was Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj who spoke in ILS, and I've also been reading some parts of this Bhagavatamrita book, so I'm talking from that as well. So I'll start with what we heard in Kurukshetra in this connection about Lord coming to this world. I think many of you were there, all of you were there, so they also added points to it. But on day one, he was speaking on this particular point that how the Lord, when he comes to this world, he always places himself as subordinate to the laws of this material world. He does not unnecessarily override the laws of the material world to display certain magic. Right? So he was speaking on that. He gave two examples mainly. One was about Yudhishthira Maharaj going to hell. Right? So in the Mahabharata we all see that Maharaj Yudhishthira goes to hell. The Pandavas go to hell for a moment. They experience that. So the Mahabharata itself says that the reason why they went to hell was what? Because they spoke a lie. Yudhishthira Maharaj spoke a lie. Yudhishthira Maharaj spoke a lie when he said that Ashwatthama is dead. So, of course, the Vaishnavas, we give the Vaishnava explanation that he hesitated to speak the truth, etc. But if you see directly from the Mahabharata, that's how it is presented. He spoke a lie. And we can explain that as well. That's what he was trying to say. That we can even explain it that way, that in the world, even when you do something for Krishna, even it may be for Krishna's service, but when you break the laws of the world, then you have to suffer the consequence. As such, it makes sense. Right? Even for Krishna's sake, when we violate certain principles, then the consequence has to be borne by us. It is not that because you broke a material law for Krishna's sake, Krishna will do some magical arrangement and... No, because the laws of the world are created by Krishna only. That has to be followed. You see in ISKCON circles also, sometimes if a person neglects his career, family, or does anything like that, thinking that I am doing this for Krishna's sake, then whatever damage will happen because of violating the laws of the material world, that consequences he will have to bear. He cannot say that I did this for Krishna's sake. So where is Krishna, why is Krishna not protecting? This we cannot ask. So I think this lesson we can certainly take. Right? But recently I was hearing this 5 lecture series given by Ravindra Swarup Prabhu on the history of ISKCON. It is very nice. It's pretty old actually. Normally I heard it. So he speaks many things in that connection about how in the early days of the movement, how people took to Krishna consciousness, how some people must have behaved in certain times. Neglecting the career, family, things like that. When it is done, then the consequences is you have to bear because there is no magic over here. So this was one important lesson I thought we learned. After that talk was over, there were some devotees in our Kurukshetra Yatra who were not very happy to hear this, honestly. They were not very happy. In fact, we had a discussion later as well, after coming back. Some devotees openly expressed that they wanted to hear that Krishna will take care of everything. They didn't want to hear that Krishna allows the material laws to act. Yeah, so that's what. So, for example, it is there also, not that it isn't. Like you see Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaking of yoga kshema bahamya. For those who are constantly thinking of me with love and devotion, I carry what they have and preserve what I carry what they lack, right? And preserve what they have. Yogakshema Mahamya. That concept is there in the Bhagavad Gita. But again, we'll have to see how we have to actually understand that concept in our life, correct? I mean, like we give the example, whose story we give in the context of Yogakshema Mahamya? That Arjunacharya, correct? Who was,
Writing.
yeah, he was writing or he was...
Mahamya may not be there.
Mahamya may not be there. Maybe he does it through someone and then when he goes out to take bath or make arms, Krishna Balaram themselves come with 2 huge loads of sacks of food and everything and supply, and they say that your husband beat us. And then Arjunacharya comes back. So we have that story. So how do we, so I just want to know, especially from those who are there in Kurukshetra, how do you accommodate both these views? How do you accommodate both these views? What is your opinion? Since we had a lot of discussion in Kurukshetra on this point.
Only Kurukshetra.
कुरुक्षेत्र में बहुत सुना ना इसके बारे में जो मैं कंसेप्ट बता रहा हूँ वो तो अभी 2 लाइन में डिफाइन किया गोइंग टू स्पोक अबाउट फॉर ऑलमोस्ट हाफ एन आवर कृष्णा अलाउज द मटेरियल लॉस टू एक्ट of course, right? So he gave one example of this, and I think the second example he gave, we'll come to this question once again. The second example he gave was how when Draupadi that Draupadi had to go through all the trauma, and then later in the Vanaparva, Draupadi meets Krishna, and Draupadi is asking 4 qualifications. She is saying about herself: I am your friend, I am a woman, I am a queen, and not born through any yoni. I come from fire. Still, why did I not get your protection? Of course, we all know that Krishna protected her ultimately by sending the sari, but she had to go through all that, right? It was at the fag end that she was brought in and she had to cry to everybody and see that there was a huge discussion on whether Yudhishthira could have placed her as a pet. After all that tamasha, when finally everybody agreed that no, everything is fair in this gambling match. Then we see Dushasan attempting to strip, then she is holding with her mind. Then when she couldn't hold, she is looking for her husband. When nothing, when she looks to Krishna, at that time Krishna helped certainly. But she expected something more from Krishna. That's what we understand from this.
When she is asking to Krishna?
Beginning of
the
Vanaparva, when they go to the forest, that time Krishna comes and so that time Krishna says, I was in another place fighting Shalva. Hence I could not come. Otherwise I would have surely come. Don't worry, but Draupadi, after 13 years I will destroy all these people. So Krishna is talking about the future, not present in this context. The point here is that Krishna is presenting his limitation in this material world. He's not saying that I am God, I could have immediately come there. It was Sudarshan Chakra and immediately finished off Duryodhana, Dushasan, Karna, Shakuni, everything. He would have done that. But he chose the material world to act the way it is. He intervened only at a high crisis point. Beyond which there would be actually death for the lady. Only at that point Krishna came. So Krishna presents his limitations. Even when Abhimanyu died, Krishna presents his limitation to Arjuna. What to do? We were over there fighting with the Shamshaptakas. And Abhimanyu was over here fighting. He just couldn't do it. Couldn't manage it. Krishna is lamenting along with Arjuna that we couldn't do anything to save our son Abhimanyu. So the point which he mentioned in this entire section was that Krishna behaves very humanly when he comes to this world. Very humanly he behaves. And he doesn't violate the laws of the world. That was his theme. So that's why he asked us, I just got out this Purva Paksha as we call it, the opposing view. And Bhagavad Gita we hear Yoga Kshema Mahamya. So how do we see it? Anybody? Just to have some discussion.
What I could understand is that there is always going to be a fight between Purusharth and Dev. So even in Ramayana, Lord Ram actually after hearing from Kaikeyi, when he comes back and he is talking to Kaushalya, there Lakshman is showing his anger that I will destroy everyone, you just order me. So we should fight. So there Lord Ram actually in great detail he says that it is them only which is responsible for all this. Don't think that the mother is responsible or anyone else is responsible. And then immediately after that, Lakshman is again trying to convince Lord Ram that no, the courageous people, they are not, they do not come under the control of Dev. So you have the courage and you have the power, you are a Kshatriya. So you can actually bend down the Dev in front of you by your Purushartha. So he was again convincing Lord Ram. So Lord Ram heard this many sentences spoke, and at the end Lord Ram says, whatever you are saying, I don't accept that, because I think that following my dharma, which is to obey the order of my father, is the greatest thing for me. So I will do that. That's it. Just 2 lines he gives the answer for that. So I could actually understand there in this particular talk that Govind Guru gave, that every time a devotee is always dependent on this causeless mercy, and the devotee is more convinced that the mercy is there of the Lord. And when the devotee hears that actually do not depend on the mercy of the Lord, actually do your work properly and don't depend on the mercy, so devotee immediately becomes shelterless, So what will be my hope? Because if I continue doing it, whether I will get mercy or not. So Govind Guru actually spoke this again, another thing, that how can it be causeless mercy if it is expected? So for a devotee, the take was for that we have to continue working hard, and working hard means actually following our dharma. When we are following our dharma properly, then if Krishna is pleased, there will be mercy. Because another thing that came was that it is not always an easy way for those who are following the dharma.
Yes.
Those who are following dharma, they may have to face lot of difficulties.
Yes.
Just like all Pandavas,
Yes.
they faced so many difficulties in the path of following dharma, but they still followed their dharma. So that Lord is always giving more importance to following the dharma than he himself in this material world. What he says in this bhautik, in this material world, that he is not talking about his supremacy, but he is talking about the supremacy of the dharma.
Yes.
So in that way, if we want to succeed in this material world, it is better we understand our dharma properly and do our dharma, and then actually depend on the Lord for the whatever causeless mercy. So that means basically we should not actually depend on the Lord. If we are just following our dharma properly, then Krishna will help us in following our dharma. Like that.
Okay. Good.
That was my
First of all, this whole system of principles of dharma is established by Lord only. So if you follow that sincerely, whatever comes, devotee should see that this is will of Krishna, this is Krishna's arrangement, and that is how. Means there is nothing like we think of Krishna's mercy means something very separately should be there. That is our general thing. But if we follow the principles of dharma properly from our side to the best capacity, whatever comes, the devotee should see this is mercy of Krishna, this is will of Krishna.
Good. Yes, ma'am.
I was just trying to think of what do we mean when we say that Krishna is not protecting what we have. So it's possible that many times when the results of any activity doesn't turn out the way we expected, we say that Krishna is not protecting us. When things don't happen our way, we feel as if Krishna is not protecting. We did something.
I'll just ask a question. In this context, what it means is, like Yudhishthir spoke a lie at Krishna's behest. So he expects Krishna, Yudhishthir is not expecting, but putting ourselves in the shoe of Yudhishthir, we are expecting that he should have not gone to hell. That means, we are doing something for Krishna and we are thinking that because we did it for Krishna, the laws of materialism should not act against us. That means I neglect my health genuinely for the sake of Krishna, But I think that somehow Krishna should protect Yogakshema Vahamyam. Krishna can protect my body still. Why should I suffer and die? You know, so that's what many devotees sometimes feel. that is the point I'm
Just
asking.
because we are discussing, maybe I'll also speak as if I don't care whether things are happening my way or not, but I might also feel that it should have happened. But this is one thing that many times when we feel things have not happened. Second was, Krishna not protecting means Krishna interfering with the rules of nature. And
Yes,
that
we
means
expect.
we expect.
We expect.
And that is what is meant by Leela. That means going against all expected rules and regulations and just doing something else. And then you said that that happens. Govind Muni said Leela is from the perspective of great devotees, and in our case, Krishna wants us to go through the rigmaroles of
We should not expect
all the trials and tribulations. Oh, that's
Right? Yeah.
Also telling that in cases where devotee might have neglected their dharma and by depending on Krishna might have gone to the spiritual world, but the important what legacy
Yeah.
they have left behind. So important is what our next generations
Correct.
they should look for the example and go ahead.
You have something to ask us here?
The example which you were discussing, you gave Draupadi's example. So Draupadi's case, we not able to understand it. She is in that position, but what did she not do, or what was her dharma in that case? Like she should have been protected. She did not get protection. So what is the
why have she had to undergo
in
such a
this example?
No. So what we are seeing from Draupadi's example is that the laws of material nature are going to act, right? See now, that means, see in that assembly, all these people are sitting, the Pandavas, the Kauravas, and so many elders, and if they are all going to allow the lady to be humiliated like this, that's how the three forces of nature are acting, right, over there. And that is the laws which are going to act.
I mean, just if we
Yeah, under normal circumstances, it would have just gone ahead. Because at the end, Krishna interfered. But that was also only at the point of literally her death, so to speak. Sorry. Correct? You know, when she's being stripped at that point. Imagine a person going through it. So she's asking Krishna, why you didn't help before only? So Krishna is also presenting himself under the jurisdiction of the material world. He's saying that, sorry about what I was a child's place. Fighting the child.
Govind only said na, Krishna is acting as the Lord only in Vrindavan. Outside he is exactly following all the rules and regulations.
spiritual world.
Yeah, that's the
That point is in spiritual world, Krishna is superior, dharma is
Yes.
below Krishna, and material world, dharma is superior.
Yeah, correct. So he said that in the spiritual world, Krishna is above the rules and regulations. Like in Vrindavan also it is like that. Vrindavan pastimes are like that. Like in one night there is a night of Brahma footings, all these things are happening. Right? Like during the last Leela it is said that one night was equal to the night of Brahma. So Vrindavan pastimes are generally where Krishna kind of supersedes all rules and regulations of the material world. Throughout that's what is happening in Vrindavan Leela. But when he comes out of Vrindavan, because in one sense, even Bhauma Vrindavan is a spiritual world only. So when he comes to the real material world, Delhi, Hastinapur, where Krishna is behaving as per the material nature. And the point which he nicely said is that the Leela of Krishna which is there, which he may do in the life of pure devotees. So this, first of all, we forget the first part of that word, that Ananyas Chintayam Toma Buddhis. That we totally forget over there. Ananyas Chintayam Toma Buddhis. Desham Vidyayuktanam Yogakshemam.
Those devotees will come.
Yeah, so we have to be that
Bro, that devotee, whatever he gets, he will accept.
Sure,
Even if he gets externally something very bad.
In any case, it is talking about
It
it is not talking about a regular sadhaka.
You have already done
It is talking about
You have already done the first.
it is talking about somebody in that. So that's one thing. Just continuing what Shamila Prabhu was saying very nicely. Yeah.
Karma, akarma and vikarma. So Krishna consciousness comes under akarma. So
Yeah.
if we are following the instructions of Krishna, and if it is akarma, then how are we getting the bad effects or the consequences of going through things like that? We discussed.
Oh yeah. I feel that at the neophyte stage or in general, it is not that we are doing only a karma, right? You know, this our karma, first of all, our karma vikarma is continuing to act on us. It doesn't stop. Correct? That means we already have a body with its prarabdha karma, with the store of whatever has come from behind. Yes, karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti valjam, so that will get destroyed. Currently it's not. We see, like for example, in a devotee's life also, they are having sufferings and illness. So many things are coming according to the body that we have.
No, but this particular example is really confused.
Which example?
This Yudhishthira and Krishna, how can he, if he's going to hell, the reason is that because he spoke a lie, but he spoke a lie on Krishna's text. And that comes under akarma. And it should not be given any consequence because he did not do whimsically.
Yeah, so see, that is also there. That's why it is also that even if the devotee has to experience a very troublesome situation, I'll ask you a simple question. Let's come down from this Yudhishthira's pastime to at our level itself. Like we see Srila Prabhupada. You know, on so many occasions, he would extend himself like anything. Like in Vrindavan, it is said in 1974, once he was having 104-degree fever. There was one governor who had arranged a program. Governor was coming for some program. Prabhupada was invited. Prabhupada went, gave the talk. He extended himself. At night, he would sit and translate, not sleep. But, you know, when he would do that, later it is said, you see the autobiographies, when he would come back, he would just collapse in his room. He would just collapse in his room. Because there are the laws of the world that are acting in it. You are having fever. Yes, for the sake of Krishna, you go ahead and do the service. But the spirit of a devotee is that I will extend myself for Krishna's sake. But ideally, the devotee doesn't expect that Krishna should interfere in this material nature, that is the body, and set right things. Prabhupada never expected. So Prabhupada was not having any false expectations in that regard. So you don't see Prabhupada complaining that why didn't, I am doing so much for Krishna, still why Krishna did not, Krishna is giving me such a headache in the middle of the night. Why is Krishna doing that to me? Prabhupada did not complain. But the challenge is with normal devotees.
Pure devotees
Pure devotees will not complain. Yudhishthira is not complaining. Please remember, they have a problem. In fact, Yudhishthira did not even experience hell. Because if you see the Shastra, Yudhishthira went in that environment, but he was not suffering the consequences of that. He was just wondering, why is it that I am here and what is happening with asking Indra? So that time Indra says this, and then in a moment everything changes, they are in heaven. That's the scene changes, right? So even with the devotee, so the point really here is, what we understand from here is, that in the service of Krishna, a devotee takes risks. And when he takes risks, material nature acts in certain ways. And those consequences may come, but the devotee takes that also as service to Krishna. Devotee doesn't complain that why is it happening to me because I did for Krishna. Once we ask that question, then there is some problem in the motivations. Then it would have been better for us to understand this before itself, that material nature acts the way it acts. Correct? So when you say akarma, it doesn't mean like in all of our lives, right? You need the right type of food. You need everything. Correct? We need our food, rest, family, everything in the right place. If something goes wrong, I mean, if we, for the sake of Krishna, if we compromise severely on one of these aspects, then there is that karma that comes, right? There is that misery that comes because of that. Then we should not ask that question. That's the point. Yeah.
Gopis giving just to Narada.
Yes, that's in this line. The gopis were ready to go to hell. They were not thinking that now we are giving for Krishna, so Krishna should understand. No, it's okay, fine. We'll go to hell. Yeah. So the motivation is clear of a devotee. That's the point here. Right? Yeah.
When we understand, like from your point, like newcomer is coming to Krishna consciousness, we tell them that Krishna consciousness is a gradual process. So things happen, like there is a time which will take place. And also, that this understanding is there. Even if we are coming to Krishna consciousness, it is whatever things are coming in our life, Krishna is only orchestrating those things. That's how we understand. Even if the karmas, the reactions are coming,
Yeah.
so they are also like orchestrated by Krishna.
Yeah.
So this is what we keep our understanding.
Yeah, but the thing is, Krishna also orchestrates as per rules. That's what we are seeing here. It's his own set rules, right? You violate his rule, it's his own set system here. It's not someone else's system. Right?
We just like, as you said, we were discussing Yudhishthira Maharaj and what was his perspective of the situation. So you said the example of Prabhupada. Even Radhanand Maharaj, there was one past time he was in Prabhu's house and he had a severe headache and he did not come out for quite some time. And then later on he expressed that he was experiencing Krishna through that. He was not complaining. He had a irregular schedule and he was having a headache. So we might think like that, but what are they thinking in their situation? So he was experiencing Krishna in that. He was not looking at it as a bad karma of some previous life or this life.
Yeah, just summarizing, yeah.
Only question. Or you want to?
Yeah, I just wanted to summarize just 2 points that the two of them said. Shamdila Prabhu was speaking on this point of focusing on one's dharma. So again, Govind Prabhu said this in this connection. He was saying that Nishkama Karma, we have discussed this before, to work in this world, Nishkama Karma is the best platform. And for our sadhana and our bhakti in our personal life, pure devotion service is our aspiration and what we actually practice. Correct? But in the external world, Nishkama Karma is the best way to do things. Nishkama Karma means what? Do everything perfectly, irrespective of what comes. Because he was saying, this point he was saying very nicely. To be a good teacher is the teacher's responsibility. He will get a karma if he doesn't teach properly. But to learn well is the student's responsibility. He said that is independent of the teacher's karma. So he explains it very nicely actually. He said like a husband-wife. To be a good husband is the responsibility of husband. And to be a good wife is the responsibility of the wife. Sometimes we see this that one person says, other person is not doing his duty, so I will also not do. No. Then you will also get that karma. You will also get that karma. Because this karma is independent. That means in every role that we are in, he was saying there is a dharma. And if you don't do that dharma over there properly, there is a consequence. This has nothing to do with what the other person is doing. He was saying this because that is what the general strategy of most people in the world is. Right? Like somebody says, I cannot be a good husband because my wife is not a good wife. But he says the Shastra doesn't say that way. Shastra says that no, if she is not a good wife, she will get her karma of not being a good wife. And if you are not a good husband, you will also get your own karma of not being a good husband. So both are there. And it is not that because of this. So similarly, he was saying teacher, student, parent, child. In any relationship in the world, he was saying this. There is Nishkama Karma Yoga from our side. The way persons act. This is the best understanding of how Bhagavad Gita can be brought to action in this world. And pure devotional service is our eternal dharma. So basically, in the Swadharma realm, we work in pure devotional service. Swarupa Dharma realm, sorry. The Swarupa Dharma realm, we work in pure devotional service. But on the Swadharma level, we work in Nishkama Karma Yoga platform. So you're saying this combination is very ideal for every devotee to learn and practice. Right? And this is basically connected to the previous thing because he said, if we practice Nishkama Karma, he said even bhakti has to be done in Nishkama Karma Yoga so that victim consciousness is reduced. He used this term, victim consciousness. Victim consciousness meaning I am the victim. ये लोग ने मेरे साथ ऐसा किया, इन्होंने ऐसा किया. People accuse others of putting him or her in single. So victim consciousness is when you are experiencing. Yeah.
Actually, like sometimes we quote Naramuni Shloka.
Which one?
We don't have to do duty towards society. Like when we are coming to Krishna consciousness.
Yes.
How do we understand this?
Yeah, very good. So basically, like he was quoting this, not in Kurukshetra, but another lecture that I heard. There is this very famous verse of Madhavendra Puri. Sandhya Vandana Mantramastu Mavado Bhosnana Dubhyam Namo Bodeva Pitatarparascha Vidao Naham Kshama Kshamyatam. There are two verses actually. One he says, let my brothers call me mad, let my let my parents call me something, I don't care for anyone. That's one verse, right? Anyone knows that verse? Anyone knows? No. Madhavendra. I forgot that verse. There is this verse. My brothers will call me mad, misled. No, that is Chittameva, there is Kulashekara. But this is different. This is actually Madhavendra. In the second canto, this verse is there. I unfortunately forgot that. And the other one is the Sandhyavandana Madhurmastamata, where he is saying that, doing these oblations to the forefathers, doing this Shraddha, doing so many things. Naham Kshama Kshamena, I cannot do anything. Maaf kar do, Devta log. Sab log mere ko maaf kar do. Now I can only think of Krishna, that's it. I cannot think of this family and so many other things. These two verses. So he was talking about these two verses. So he was saying that as practicing devotees, we have to see the spirit of that verse in the context of pure devotional service. We have to see who is saying this verse. This is being stated by a sannyasi. The Madhavendra Puri is the renounced order of life. In the renounced order of life, he is saying that. Right? So there is a role also in Varnashram where a person says this. A 25-30-year-old man or woman cannot say that he will act on that verse. That will cause major catastrophe. So how does a 20-year-old, how does a person who is not a sannyasi look at that verse? He looks at the verse in terms of the spirit of commitment towards worshipping Krishna in his own situation. In my own situation, how best I will worship Krishna, that inspiration is supposed to take from that verse. He cannot take the inspiration from that verse to copy that in his life. If he does that, there is catastrophe. That this does not work. So this is very clear. So that will be a wrong application of that verse. Because you are not, first of all, you are not at that level where you can actually say that you need only Krishna. And so you just make a mess out of your life when you do that. That's the point.
Sometimes like we, in the beginning years of Krishna consciousness, there was a session cutting the knot and all these things. We used to all hear all these things and getting
Yeah, so that's what. So when you say that cutting the knot, by the way, for those of you who don't know, cutting the knot is a famous lecture in Gaurang Sabha in level 1 to level 2 camp. This is given by the brahmacharis where how to cut everything.
But again in Gaurang.
Yeah, so that's why. So if you see,
Not an ignorance.
no, first of all there is Gaurang, but there are challenges with that as well because everyone who is in the audience is not at the level they can take it. See, that's where the whole problem comes. You are hearing something that you are not qualified for in terms of literally implementing. So there is trouble, and that trouble comes in many ways. That's the point. Yeah? Okay, you have a question.
प्रभु जी ये एक तो ये है कि हम जब प्रचार करते हैं तो प्रचार में हम लोग सबको ये बोलते हैं कि युधिष्ठिर महाराज का रथ जो है ऊपर चलता था वो नीचे हो गया, तो धर्म तो साक्षात भगवत प्रणेता, तो जो भगवान ने जो दिया है वही धर्म है, उसी का पालन करना चाहिए। और भगवान धर्म की स्थापना करने के लिए आते हैं, धर्म और कुछ भी नहीं, जो भगवान बोलते हैं वो धर्म है। इसलिए जो लोग भगवान की जो कहे गए निर्देशों के अनुसार जीवन जीते हैं वो ही सफल होते हैं। तो हम प्योर डिवोशनल सर्विस में इस चीज को बहुत स्ट्रेस करते ही हैं इस चीज को, लेकिन अब जहाँ तक ये देखा जा रहा है यहाँ पे तो क्या था, इनका स्वधर्म में के अंदर भगवान घुसे थे, क्योंकि उनका स्वरूप धर्म, जैसे गोविंद प्रभु सेज दैट कीप योर साधना सेपरेट फ्रॉम योर swadharma. Because sadhana is something which is connected with Krishna.
Yes.
And either swadharma is something which is your own, that you make decision. But here what happens with Pandava's example that we give, this is उनके स्वधर्म के अंदर भगवान ही चले गए हैं.
Yes.
तो ये I am not able to still understand this. It's a little complicated situation. It's not so simple because Yudhishthir Maharaj getting the reaction of saying the lie and re-quoting this example in preaching that pure devotional service means, whatever Krishna is saying, just follow it, otherwise you will be at a loss. So this too,
I think what is happening is we are using an example where all their swadharmas come into picture to encourage people in their swarup dharma. Correct? Our main interest as preachers in Krishna consciousness is to ensure that people take up to Krishna consciousness. And people's Shraddha in Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead increases. So for that we give the Vaishnava perspective of that particular pastime. So generally stated, yes, there are multiple ways of looking at it. That's also there. But the Mahabharata, the direct way is also there. So we cannot avoid that. That means this whole Mahabharata incident, which basically says that because Yudhishthira said a lie, these things happened, is also there. So that cannot be shunned out. Right? Though from our perspective still, if Yudhishthira was again let us say we have to enact that scene, and Krishna is telling Yudhishthira, tell Drona, Ashwatthama is dead. What should Yudhishthira do? He should say. He should say, right? Because from a devotional perspective, obeying Krishna is the highest dharma, irrespective of what consequence it brings. It brings the ultimate highest consequence only. Right? Because without that, Drona would not have been killed. And without Drona not being killed, the Pandavas would never win the kingdom. Because you cannot kill Duryodhana when Drona is standing alive. And without Drona dying, and Drona cannot be killed by definition. So this was the only way to do it. So ultimately it brought goodness to the world. Because Yudhishthira Maharaj was coronated as a king. Which is from a greater perspective, besides the fact that Yudhishthira had to go to hell for some moments. If you see the overall picture planned by Krishna, that was all auspicious. So we are very clear from the perspective that again if the scene were to be reenacted, Yudhishthira should say the lie. Bear the consequences.
So that is the greatest.
Bear the consequences. That is the devotee's mood. See, Govinda's perspective was on this point. We will do everything for Krishna in this material world, but the consequences also we are ready to bear. Probably we are not ready to bear the consequences and we are complaining. Yudhishthira was not complaining, but we keep complaining on Yudhishthira's behalf, or we keep complaining in our lives. That is where he had a problem. Why do you do that? The laws of nature will act. That's the point really. You get it now? So we are very clear on this. Krishna has to be followed. And Krishna's rules are there, so that will also act. Krishna's rules will act. Krishna's rules will not magically vanish.
That is where the wrong understanding comes.
In fact, I was reading this Jayadrat's pastime. If you see this Jayadrat, it is said that only Jayadrat could not see the sun. Krishna had created an illusion only for that Jayadrat who could not see the sun. He was thinking that the sun has set and he came. The others knew very well that the sun is there. It was a personal illusion created for Jayadrat by the Supreme Lord. The point is the laws of nature are not violated like that by the Supreme Lord. Everything is as it is.
Exceptional case.
Yeah, exceptional case. Krishna creates an illusion in some individual system so that something else happens. Krishna maintains the laws of his world. He has created it. Why will he not? Why will he simply override it? So that maturity we have to have.
So, Prabhu, this Tatyanukampa is exactly that only.
Yes.
Whatever it is, I will like.
Yes. Tatyanukampa works in that spirit. I will take everything and I will still worship you. That's the devotee. That's perfect.
We tell this, but somehow we are the wrong understanding.
So our understanding is Krishna should give very nice thing. Even Krishna's mercy and all that we are talking, it is mainly in the context of material things that we see the mercy, right? In general. We are not seeing the mercy from the perspective of increased attachment to the chanting of the holy name or any of that stuff. We are looking from the perspective whether materially सब कुछ मैंने violate करने के बावजूद कृष्णा ने कुछ कमाल कर दिया क्या मेरे जीवन में. That's what generally we are looking forward to as mercy. Generally. Like people say also, mercy, भगवान की mercy से मुझे ये हो गया, गाड़ी आ गई, बंगला आ गया.
Going from also said, if we don't understand this principle, then we will be
victim consciousness. Victim consciousness means we will simply think
something goes wrong, we will be
सब कुछ मेरे साथ नाइंसाफी हो रही है. So that kind of a thing.
very important.
As you said that in any pastime of the Lord there are more than two ways, I think three ways of understanding it. One is the Leela perspective, one is the Rula perspective. So when we see Krishna, as Shamila Prabhu said, interfering in the lives of Pandavas, interfering in the Swadharma. So when Krishna comes and starts interfering, he also interferes within the laws of the material world only. He knows that he is interfering to kill what is his name? Dronacharya, but he is utilizing all the ways and means available in the material. He is not desiring that Dronacharya dies and he dies also.
Yeah, he doesn't cause a heart attack or
He doesn't cause a heart attack. He uses Shakti, whatever is there within the rules of this world and acts accordingly. Even if he interferes, he uses within the rules only.
Only spiritual.
Only in Vrindavan he just breaks.
Only, yeah. He said that. In the spiritual world, Krishna is
Above
above the laws.
Above.
Laws, not dharma, laws. Outside, the laws are working.
Law, it works under.
This is despite the fact that Krishna is considered the, what shall I say, most perfect form of Godhead. So that's what I am going to speak on next. So this beautiful discussion is presented very nicely by Srila Rupa Goswami, which I will, which is titled as Paravastha forms of the Lord. So Para Avastha, Para means supreme and Avastha means form. So he says that among all the forms of the Lord, 3 forms are called as exceptional. Paravastha, that means most magnificent forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the 3 forms which he gives this particular designation of Paravastha are Lord Narasimha, Ramachandra and Krishna, in that order. So he says that these 3 forms are where the Lord manifests himself extraordinarily with all the prowess of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, increasingly, as Narasimha, Ramachandra and Krishna. Then he gives many reasons why is it that even among the 3, Krishna is considered Swayam Bhagavan. So the most exalted form of the Lord. So why is Krishna considered more than even Narasimha and Vamana? So he says many things. So Narasimha and Lord Ramachandra. So I'll just try to. In fact, his way of Rupa Goswami's way of explaining this concept is especially very nice. He uses the technique of Purva Paksha. So Purva Paksha means opposing argument. Opposing argument is Purva Paksha. So Govind Prabhu actually was mentioning this point, not in this yatra, but when we had gone to Melkote, he was telling this, that in the Indian system, Purva Paksha is considered very important. Purva Paksha means the opposing argument. The opposing argument has to be understood properly. So he was saying that if you see a Vaishnava book, a Vaishnava, if he has to defend Vaishnava philosophy against Mayavad philosophy, first he has to present Mayavad philosophy properly. And then only he can talk about his Vaishnava philosophy. Without talking Mayavad philosophy, he cannot start talking anything. Similarly, so everybody has to give the opposing argument. What will the other person say against this? And how is that to be refuted? This whole book is like that. But this is the last book which has been published by Gopi-Karandan Prabhu. Because he already passed away 3-4 years back, but he had written this. And later it got printed by the devotee recently. So, in this work, there are many things described here, but this is one section which I am trying to talk of here, in connection with the Lord's coming to this material world, since that's the topic that we are discussing. So the Purva Paksha is presented very nicely by Rupa Goswami in every part. So anyway, he starts presenting this by saying that though we give the argument of Deepar Chideva Dashantaram Abhubhetya, that how from one lamp, every lamp is lit. He says, but still, there is a lamp, small flame and a large flame. And he says that though technically speaking the small flame and the large flame are both flame only, but he said we get satisfaction only from a sizable fire, because only a sizable fire can dispel cold and give us warmth. So simply saying that everything is fire will not do this. So similarly he says that how extensively the Lord reveals His qualities and powers. That means the more extensively the Lord, when He reveals His quality and powers, devotees become very happy and freed from material entanglement. So he says this is why the Paravastha forms of the Lord are very significant. Because in these forms the Lord reveals His qualities and powers to a greater and greatest degree. In Lord Narasimha, Ramachandra, and subsequently as Krishna himself. Then he gives reasons why it is like that. So the first reason he says is that liberation to all demons is given only by Krishna. He says that when Jai Vijay come to this world first as Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha is killed by Narasimhadev. But though he is killed by Narasimhadev, he doesn't get liberation. He has to come again when he comes as Ravana. And when he comes as Ravana, Ram kills him. But still he doesn't get liberation. He has to come as Shishupal. And when Shishupal is chopped off by Krishna's discuss, at that time he goes back. So he says that then the Purva Paksha, he continuously brings the Purva Paksha. He says then somebody will say that no, this Jai Vijay had to come for 3 births. That is why at the end of 3rd birth they went. So then he goes to Padma Puran and he quotes Parashara and others. And he says that in every day of Brahma, all these pastimes of Hiranyaksha, Ravan and Shishupal are happening. So it is not that every time Jai Vijay are coming down. Otherwise, the Padma Puran says Jai Vijay, Parashara Puni says Jai Vijay will be perpetually coming here only. Big demons. So it is only once a while that it happens that Jai Vijay comes as demons. But many other times, there are other people who take the role of the Hiranyaksha, Ravan, etc. And even they are ultimately liberated when Krishna comes. And then he quotes many other verses also, saying that how even when demons like Kal and Imi, when they were killed by Ajita, a form of Lord Vishnu, they don't get liberation immediately at that time. Later, Krishna comes and delivers these people as well. So he says that the ultimate deliverance which is there, where someone goes back to Vaikuntha or the spiritual world, that is actually awarded by Krishna only. And even these other forms of the Lord, so then you may say then the other forms of the Lord, when they kill someone, is there no benefit at all? He says no, there is benefit. So he explains that as well. He says, for example, when Lord Narasimhadev, when he comes, Hiranyakashipu initially thought that this fellow is some powerful personality. He didn't see him as Vishnu. He thought this is some very powerful person who has come to do this. He fights with them and everything. So when he is killed, then he is born in an opulent situation as Ravana. He is born in that particular situation. And when Ravana, when he sees Ram, he sees Ram as a normal human being. He doesn't see himself as Lord Vishnu. And when he is killed by Lord Ram, then he is born as Shishupal. But now when he is born as Shishupal, he is from childhood itself constantly thinking about Krishna in MP. So and in fact he recognizes Krishna as Vishnu and my former enemy. He recognizes this is my former enemy only, who is Vishnu himself. So that means the understanding improves over a period of time in the demons also. So by the time the intensity.
Demonness.
No, not just demonness increases. Demonness is almost constant. But the understanding that this is Vishnu, and because he says that as Shishupal was constantly thinking about the names of the Lord only. Because he was the maternal cousin brother, right? He was a cousin of Krishna. So he was constantly thinking about Krishna from his childhood and identifying him as his own enemy. So this kind of situation happens. So this has happened because previously he was delivered by a form of the Lord. But ultimately it was only when Krishna killed Shishupal that Shishupal and of course his brother Dantavakra, both of them get deliverance. So then he quotes extensively from various scriptures that all the demons who were killed by various other forms of Lord Vishnu, they ultimately again come in the presence of Krishna in their next life and they are killed by him once again before they go back. So this is one reason he says that Krishna is the most supreme among the Paravastha forms. The most perfect forms of the Lord. This is one reason that he gives.
What happens if you don't take other form? What benefit they give?
Yeah, so the other forms, there is, right? The fellow is born in the next situation. See, because when we say somebody has got liberated, like this one jargon, when someone passes away, we say he went back to Godhead. So that can mean so many things actually. Back to Godhead does not necessarily mean that he went. Like even about devotees we say this, right? Before anybody goes, he has to take part in Krishna's pastimes and then he goes. So going back to Godhead is a journey in that sense. So it's not literally necessary that, so when you say liberation, it means many things. So they got liberated from one situation and they went into the next situation, which was obviously much better, where they encountered the Lord in a much more munificent form. It's in that sense there is benefit only, it's not that there is no benefit. How can it be that there is no benefit? But only Krishna ultimately delivers all the demons, because that deliverance per se is granted only by the most supreme form.
We say that every incarnation has got a Vaikuntha planet. So
Yes.
who goes there? All who are liberated by Krishna, they only go, or this forms also go? Suppose that whoever has been killed is a devotee of Krishna. Is related to.
Yeah, okay, understood. Yeah, he's related in some Vaikuntha situation. And Jai Vijay are gatekeepers in Vaikuntha. So Krishna delivers them, they go to Vaikuntha only, right? They are not going to follow.
So ultimately Krishna only.
Yeah, the demons. The demon deliverance is given by Krishna, he says. He quotes this actually, he quotes this from various Puranas. There is a whole discussion between Maitreya and Parashara on this subject in the Padma Purana. That how Krishna delivers all the demons. So he says that all the demons which were killed previously, they again come in Krishna's presence to be killed by him once again before they go back to the Supreme Lord. That's why apparently Krishna, whenever Krishna comes to the world, too many demons are there. Okay, this is one point, yeah.
His question, I also now have the doubt. That who goes to Narsingadham, Vaman
Everyone goes, man. Why not?
Why
All these
only
people go.
demons are left? Oh, all others
First
are
of all, we are
gone.
talking only about demons.
Demons,
So
huh?
those devotees of Narsingadham,
Devotees, yeah, they go there only, right? And even if the demons, if their Swarupa is ultimately there, they will go there. Wherever they are, they will fall in place. So Krishna kills him with this Shishupal. He doesn't go to Goloka, right? He goes back to Vaikuntha only, where he is eternally situated. That is, yeah.
Like recently, I had heard this pastime that was devotees at Bhaktivedanta Hospital, they chanted Bhagavad Gita and Harinam to some person passing away. He's like while passing away, then his daughter was there, and the daughter then again afterwards he came back to the consciousness and he told that why you are disturbing me? I'm going back. So I am seeing there are people with yellow dhotis and all this. So how do we then understand like what exactly where it fits in? Like he's saying Vishnu Dutas or what something else? What exactly it is?
Could be it could be now. Krishna side anything will happen. Only from our side we
See,
see.
we don't know na, who has practiced what, how much, when, where. So many things.
That means then
We only know that we have to follow certain rules and regulations. This one question answer I heard recently. Someone is asking Jayadev Maharaj. When we go back to the spiritual world, how will we understand who is Prabhupada over here? Because Prabhupada would have changed his form. How do you understand? The answer is there. All of you have to be concerned about following 4 regulative principles strictly, chanting 16 rounds attentively, and having only one spouse in your life. If you do this much, at the right time, everything will be revealed. It's better over. It dismisses that whole thing. Genuine sorry. Yeah.
Since we are discussing about demons, actually Raghu once asked me, तुम लोग बताते ना बच्चों को कि there is Krishna, there is no special things, there are no demons, we have to chant the Krishna name. So he asked me, कि Krishna को ढूंढ के demons आते हैं. You are telling me
Good point.
Krishna, there is Krishna, there are no demons. मतलब I cannot answer.
No. So what we understand is, demons will come to attack Krishna, but Krishna is victorious. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, yatra Patho Dharudhara, tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutir. Right?
This question is since हम लोग demons से डरते हैं ना, तो Krishna's friend और मतलब Krishna is victorious, but they have to go through suffering. So then मतलब हम लोग बोलते हैं ना कि demon नहीं आते, we have to chant Krishna's name. So he was asking कि demon तो वहाँ आते हैं, their friends, his friends also have to go through the suffering.
No, if you see as such Vrindavan pastimes where demons are coming, the devotees don't go through any suffering at all. They are enjoying, हर दिन उनको मजा है. The description is that daily they come home and they tell their parents, अरे आज ये demon आया, इतना मजा आया, Krishna did this to him. For them it's a fun actually.
Even Agasur, that is how they enter.
Only we are seeing this from an external perspective. Over there, they were very confident. Even if he's a demon, so what? Walk into his mouth, man. Krishna's business to take care of it.
Krishna will protect.
No, there's Vrindavan, right? There's Vrindavan over there. They are not thinking that we would Agasur, we would die. Krishna brings them out to life again. But in Kurukshetra, he doesn't do that. That's the point. Abhimanyu dies, Krishna doesn't say, no, Abhimanyu will come back to life. He doesn't do that. Their laws of world are active. Right? But there, in fact, I think Agasur's past time, all the boys were dead, right? That's what the story says. Everyone were already dead. Krishna brings everyone back to life.
Even little Krishna, that is
Yeah, little Krishna
also they say
was from that town.
all of them would say.
Yeah, correct. Yes, Maharaj, you had a point.
When you speak about devotees, the five primary rasas and the secondary rasa that we have. That's how like we categorize the devotees. So similarly, when it comes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we say that Krishna is the topmost, and then like you have the different gradations, and you are giving the name called as Paravastha. Right? So like even in this Paravastha, we have as the rasas, like case of devotees, really gradations or different names for the Supreme Personality. Technically, depending on how it increases.
Gradations in name, holy name.
Not incarnations itself.
There are none gradations. That's what we're talking.
It's only one Paravasa, that's it.
Oh, no. I am actually talking from chapter 6 of this book. I'm sorry. So there are so many descriptions before it in terms of different forms, categorizations, everything. But at the end of it, he concludes that these three are the topmost among all the incarnations of the Lord. Narasimha, Ramachandra and Krishna. And then he just focuses on why Krishna is even special among the three. So that's like, we have directly fast forwarded to the conclusion. But if you go through the whole thing, then you see that very nicely. Yeah, so since, it's okay. Yeah. So since we are going into the discussion of the demons, I will just...
About Lord Rama also he explains in detail, bro. In this,
Yeah, he does.
Means Krishna had to kill so many demons and previous incarnations.
Oh, Krishna killed so many.
Actually, that is the
Krishna kills maximum demons. If you see
all the incarnation, whatever they do.
So many demons have come. Everyone comes in Krishna Leela, isn't it? Not only in Vrindavan, later in Dwarka, Kurukshetra, whole demons only, right? Krishna getting all the demons of the world together. One stroke, finishing everyone off and going.
Krishna comes only once in a day. He has got a bigger task.
Yes, a bigger task.
That makes lot of sense, bro. Because only in Krishna is the maximum demons.
Maximum demons in Krishna Leela only. See, Ram also one war he fought, that's all. वो लंका में युद्ध किया. बाद में 11,000 साल राम भगवान राम ने अच्छी तरह से अयोध्या में राज किया. No trouble. नरसिम्हा वरा and others one demon singular एक को मार के चले गए बस. कृष्ण को कितना काम है? 125 साल he was constantly fighting only. All demons were there. Who was not there? And also all these demons represent also something. So that's what I'm going into. So this of course we have heard, but Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj presented this very nicely about Krishna killing the demons in Vrindavan, what the demon represents and why they represent that. We have always heard of what they represent, but why they represent, I thought he put it very nicely. So that's what I'm going into. Before I'll again come back to this book very soon, but I've kind of jumped from one discussion to another. So basically, going into the background of, this is actually written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his book called Krishna Samhita. So that book is also a very interesting book. That book again is a book that he wrote which teaches us the point that we had discussed last time, relevancy in preaching. You remember that? Once we discussed this last time only, I think we discussed last to last. Fateh Pran was how we had to being relevant in preaching. That how you have to be relevant to the audience. So, if you see, even writing books, it is so important for everyone to be relevant to the audience. And that's why we have this journey within also coming, which Maharaj sees as a book which is relevant to the American audience. Right? Sundarnath Prabhu was there last Sunday in Golok Vrindavan. Golok means not that Golok. Behind Barsana Dham. Golok Society. So he was telling about Maharaj's preaching in the West and how this book is going to help him a lot, and we all need to order that basically, and also tell all our friends to order that. So 35,000 books have to be ordered. So at least in Pune we are hoping to have some 5,000 books or something. We don't know whether we will reach that number, but we have to go ahead. Whomever we know, we have to tell them to buy one book on their credit card. At least one. Maybe two, they can afford. Yeah, so the whole point is to be relevant in preaching. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, when he was preaching, at that time the prevailing atmosphere in Bengal was of intellectualism, where no one wanted to accept the Puranas as it is. That means nobody was in a mood only to accept that all these Mahabharata, Ramayana, everything actually happened. That was the very strong mood in the intellectual society at that time. That's why you see Raja Ram Mohan Roy and all these kind of intellectuals, Arya Samaj began. Nobody was ready to accept. So if you see the way Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes Krishna Samhita, he starts by talking of dates which are completely not in agreement with the Puranas. He says that okay, let us accept that all these things either recently happened or whatever. Now let us go into the lessons and understand why Krishna did something. So that means that whole historical discussion which the intellectuals of Bengal were discussing, he kind of agreed to it. He said, okay, we'll agree to it. But now let's discuss some very important lessons that we will learn from him. So somebody may initially, if you read that book, you will feel that he's compromising. You may feel like that. But it is not that. It is actually being relevant to that audience over there. Because they all have a particular mood and bent of mind towards the Shastra. So instead of simply arguing with them over some nitty-gritties, say that okay, we'll accept it, now let's go into that and see what lessons we can get. And there you will see plenty of things to learn. He sidesteps what, according to us, may be a very important point. He accepts their perspective, the intellectual perspective, and then he goes ahead in describing. So that is a very brilliant thing. And there he goes into all these demons. And all these, approximately 21 demons whom Krishna kills in Vrindavan, very nicely he explains why some demon is being killed, what that demon represents and why he represents them. So I think, of course, most of you also may know some of it. So we will quickly have this discussion on the demons, since we are just speaking on demons in Krishna Leela. So the first demon Krishna kills is Putana. Okay? So Putana, what does Putana represent? Pseudo Guru or the conditioned mind. Pseudo Guru or the conditioned mind. And why does Putana represent that? Because milk is considered very pure, like knowledge, and poison in milk is considered contaminating knowledge and giving. Hence, Putana represents false Guru. Because knowledge is like milk, pure and pristine in its original form. But when the poison is mixed, it becomes externally it looks like milk, but actually it is cheating. Does the pseudo guru teach us something which is wrong, but externally everything seems nice, right? Good. Shakatasura. What does Shakatasura represent? Anyone remembers? What is
holding our bad habits.
Yeah, carrying the bad habits of this and previous life. Why does he represent that? Why is Shakatasura compared to our bad habits? No. Why does Shakatasura represent our bad habits? Because they haunt us like a ghost. It's like a ghost which is not seen but constantly possessing us and troubling us. Since Shakatasura came as a ghost. Shakatasura has a ghostly body, right? Shakatasura is not there only actually. If you see the story in the Krishna book, Krishna only kicks the cart and everything is destroyed. In the Krishna book you don't see that Shakatasura lay dead and the Vrajavasis cremated his body. Now body nahi tha uska, subtle body tha uska. But Krishna kills that subtle body.
It was in the form of the cart.
Yeah, he was in the form of the cart. He possessed the cart. Ghost है ना भाई, ghost को तो एक physical object को possess करना पड़ता है ना काम करने के लिए.
I'm not sure if this ghost thing is mentioned. It's just mentioned that the cart.
Yeah, the cart collapsed and the demon was killed. The ghostly body, that subtle body was also destroyed by Krishna, but nobody could see it, right? That's what we understand. There is no body, like unlike in the case of Putana and Trinavarta, where the Vrajavasis had to chop it and cremate it and all that. Here there was nothing. It was all finished. Agasur, the body was there as a playground for a long time for all the common boys to play. Good. Third demon, Trinavarta. What does Trinavarta represent?
False pride due to our knowledge.
Very good. False pride due to scholarship. False pride due to scholarship, which gives rise to bogus philosophies. Why is he compared to false pride? Because false pride takes you very high in the sky. Yeah, you go very high, thinking that I am big man. Correct? And then you crash from there. Good. Fourth one, Nalakku and Manigriva. What do they represent? What do Nalakku and Manigriva represent?
Pride born out of Janma Ishwarya.
Yeah, pride born out of wealth, basically. Janma Ishwarya. Correct. Why? Because they offended Narada because of that pride only, right? We are big people. Where do we care for this Sadhu Baba? Narada Muni. Very good. That is Nalakku and Manigriva. Fifth is, who is the next demon? Vatsasur. What does Vatsasur represent? Anyone remembers what does Vatsasur represent?
Cruelty.
Childish, not childish.
Exactly not childish mentality. Yeah, but somewhat right only.
Cruelty.
No, not cruelty. Not cruelty. Anyone? Vatsasur represents anarthas of children. First. And second, adults using children as objects of enjoyment. That means adults pampering children's anarthas in the name of love. These two anarthas is represented by Vatsasur. So two things. Anarthas that children themselves have, like cunningness. Children depict all this cunningness. I will not share something with other. So many things. All kinds of duplicitous things start coming up. Those anarthas. But those anarthas look very sweet when a child does it. Like we have all seen it, right? Sometimes we also play with children. A child has some toy, which says, "देखो मुझे भी लेके जा रहा है, मैं दूंगी." So we also like to play. अच्छा लग रहा है वो. छोटा बच्चा है इसलिए उसका अनर्था भी sweet ही लगता है. We, right? Adults also like to tease children sometimes on their anarthas. But he says here that when you pamper them too much in that, without stopping, okay, sometimes we may do, but at a serious level, when the education age is there, between 5 to 15, you have to be very strict, is very important. Otherwise, those anarthas simply grow, and they grow out of proportion. Right? So that is the anartha Vatsasura represents. Why does he represent that? Why is Vatsasura a representation of that?
He came like a calf, but he had
He came a calf and frolicking, playing, but actually there was all this stuff inside. He came as a calf. Parents using pampering their children's anarthas. So we pamper, right? So many people pamper their children's. If a child wants, simple thing, a child wants a very expensive mobile phone to play with or something, right? In so many ways we pamper them, saying that okay, take this also, take this also. Then we just keep supplying them things for their anarthas to increase.
How is it parents and children? Because
that means the thing is, parent enjoyment as in, sometimes those anarthas in very small childhood seem very sweet. So, we don't cut it, we kind of fan it and allow it to grow knowingly. That's the point here. Right? We allow it to grow. So children, for example, see, you tell me one thing, a 16, 17-year-old boy or girl, sometimes the way they behave, a lot has got to do with the 15 years where they got all the facility to do things, right? They were pampered. You know what's pampering, right? Pampering means being allowed to indulge in sense enjoyment in childhood. That is Vatsasur, from the parents' perspective.
I'm just wondering if something like sometimes parents use children to showcase them and get their ego satisfaction or something. Like, if children do well, then I am also, that kind of a thing. Because when you say parents and satisfaction, then
No, not in that perspective. Yeah.
This what you are talking about is relevant for the age of 5 to
5 to 15.
Yeah.
Yes.
In that case, there should be no kind of pampering or Anartha should not be encouraged.
Yes, anartha should not be fanned. The right term is anartha should not be fanned. What we are supposed to do is encourage the child to develop his swadharma well. That's what I understood. And how to do that, I don't know yet, but that's what I have caught as the essence of stuff. You have to encourage you have to find the swadharma of the child and exactly fan it so that he contributes something meaningful to the world. अब कैसे करने का पूछो मत, देखिए करना तो ये है, अभी देखो क्या करने का समझने में भी मजा है, कैसे करना वो भी मालूम है, वो बात नहीं। Right? Make sense? Yeah.
Is it exactly 5 to 15?
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's not exactly as in not in the 4th year, 11th birthday. It's doing everything. चलो बेटा लो मोबाइल पे गेम खेलो, I feel तो बड़े चार चावल वापस लिया, 5 साल हो गया. That's too artificial, obviously. It's just an indication at that age where it starts before ends, maybe a little after also. Not that at 15 you say, I have given you up completely myself. Here it is. Full bandwidth of internet, do whatever you want. That also does not work. Yeah. Okay.
That's till age 5.
Yeah, till age 5.
They are innocent.
Yeah. Innocent doesn't, their subtle body is not yet developed well, so the anarthas are not manifesting. In that sense, they are innocent. They are, but the stored stuff is there. Okay, good. Next, Bakasur. What does Bakasur represent? What does Bakasur represent? Now, for that, actually, you have to remember why he represents that. He represents dupliciousness because he had 2 faces. The whole point is Krishna bifurcated Bakasur, revealing that he has 2 faces. Iske 2 alag-alag muh hai. That bifurcation pastime that Krishna does is trying to reveal the fact that iske 2 chehre hai. And 2 chehra means duplicitous behavior. Ek dikhane ka aur ek dusra.
Bakasur sits na for long time.
Yeah, correct. Suddenly he does it. Yeah, that's what. And Krishna bifurcates his face. That's the reason given here. Bifurcating is analogous to showing 2 faces. And 2 faces means he had 2 faces, dupliciousness. Now please remember, this connection is also very strong as in, because of a mentality you have a particular body and you do certain things. Because our whole philosophy is what? From the subtle comes the gross. So when you see the gross which they had, that is actually connected to the subtle behind it. Right? Good. Next. Aghasur. What does Aghasur represent? Anyone recalls? Because I have my Word document in front of me. It's very easy for me to look at.
Envious.
Yes, very good. Out of envy causing trouble. Causing trouble to others, being extremely violent. That's very clear. He wanted to destroy the whole bridge. Actually, we see among all that, even the Aghasur was one of the worst. He came with an intention that सबको खा लूँगा यहाँ पर. एक को भी नहीं छोड़ने वाला मैं इधर. That's why he came as about 12 mile or whatever size python. His goal was to swallow the entire residents of Vrindavan. Very huge, because extreme degree of cruelty or violence. Next, Brahma. Of course, Brahma is not a demon, but still in that context, in the line, Brahma when he comes, what does he represent? Thinking Aishwarya better than Madhurya. Because Brahma thought that, he knew Krishna is God. He was thinking, ye kaun se Bhagavan hai who is sitting with his friends, and there is this one scene when Krishna is sitting with one Gopa with some juice in his mouth. Krishna boxes that and then drinks it. Things like this Brahma could not take. What's happening? This is Supreme Personality of Godhead. Some etiquette should be followed, right? So he couldn't have this idea that how Madhurya can be superior to Aishwarya. He was thinking Aishwarya is superior than Madhurya, because of which he came and did whatever he did. So he became doubtful about Krishna, that context. Good, next. Dhenukasur. What does Dhenukasur represent?
Lust.
No, not lust.
Bodily consciousness.
Dhenukasur. Ass. Gada मतलब क्या? एकदम बुद्धू. Gross material foolishness. That's why Balaram kills him. Because gross material foolishness is destroyed by the spiritual master. That's the idea. And Balaram kills him. And he came as an ass, right? And an ass is a representative of the greatest fool. That's what we always call an ass. We say, Ghade, we say, right? If somebody is foolish. Good, next, Kaliya. What does Kaliya represent?
Envy.
No. What does Kaliya represent? Poisoning the heart of devotees. सबके हृदय में विष डालना. That's what Kaliya represents. Why? Because he poisoned all the cowboys. He killed them. That means when there is a tendency, अभी आजकल इंटरनेट पे वही तो चल रहा है सब कुछ. That's why we are doing web share, right? There are people who are trying to poison the hearts of innocent people, and we have to fight that. Right? So much of fight has to be done. So many people in so many ways poisoning the heart of devotees. In fact, when I remember 10-12 years back, this was so much that Prabhupada was poisoned and so many things. This people had come with that theory, and in fact, some of them were even going to the court that we have to go back to the Samadhi of Prabhupada in Vrindavan and take his transcendental form out and check how much poison is there.
Totally
Such
bogus.
craziness.
Proved to be finally totally wrong now.
Totally wrong as in now.
Some person now.
I mean, it's not even accepted. What kind of allegation is this? Any nonsense you are talking about. This doesn't make any sense. So basically, this is poisoning the hearts of Vaishnavas. So sometimes you see even by rumors and by people poison the hearts of everybody. Sometimes the tendency is there. The point here is that all these tendencies are in sadhakas as well, to different degrees. किसी का थोड़ा कम रहेगा, कुछ ज़्यादा रहेगा. And ultimately, Krishna destroys everything. That's the point here. Yeah.
Just in related to click seva, we know that there is one site that is on the second page.
अभी थोड़ा सा कम आ गया.
Fourth place. It has come to
Fourth page.
fourth place on page 2.
हाँ, नहीं second page पे first था वो.
Fourth है.
अभी fourth page fifth है.
After some 30,000 clicks.
30,000 clicks तो आएगा ना और. Third page के बाद बात जल्दी भागेगा बोल के.
There is one more site on the fourth page.
Yeah.
Measurements?
Yeah, because it has the slide may appear very good.
Normal.
It is the title is R Radhanath Swami disciples followers of ISKCON, something like that.
वो थोड़ा सा ये है.
Since I happened to click it,
You did some website मध्ये also. Like that. फर्स्ट टाइम आया ना भागवत में. एक ओवलेशन है, एक और एक दूसरा. Mataji is there in the top 10. Yeah.
so just for information about devotee, but
How you make so much time? You do it at home only? You have a good internet? You have a good internet? This thing. Good.
automate कर दिया.
Automate? We have other analogies of we have heard, like for example, Renuka is representing false prophets. So, like,
No.
yeah, as Maharaj says
This is everyone who talks this concept talks from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's writing, and this is what is given. This is the only one that's correct. There is nothing. It's not that anything you can say.
Gokul has spoken this like this.
Yes, Maharaj also says this only. I'm very clear.
there are some lectures where clearly Maharaj says, like
Clearly,
Kaliya, for example, represents.
Yeah, in many things he represents, but pinpointedly he represents this. This is a pinpointed thing.
This is the root.
Yeah. Right. Next. Extinguishing the forest fire. You know the forest fire that comes at Vrindavan? So what does the forest fire represent?
Amongst devotees.
Yes, intercommunal discord among Vaishnavas. Because that's like a fire that destroys everything. Correct? Intercommunal, because among Vaishnava society, conflicts happening. Very good. Next. Pralambasur. What does Pralambasur represent?
Subtle sense gratification.
Yeah, very good. Lusty inclinations for personal honor. Why? Because he wanted to destroy Guru in a match to show that he is great. See, try to see the reason. Pralambasur came as a coward. Can you just close the door?
Lusty inclination for?
For personal honor. खुद को बड़ा दिखाना है. Because Pralambasur came as a Gopa to defeat Balaram, who is the Adi Guru, to show that मैं Guru से बेहतर हूँ. You know, that is the whole tendency. I am better than this Guru also. That kind of thing. Lusty inclinations for personal honor. And he was killed, and such a person is killed by the Guru. Yeah, Balaram. Good. Then there is the Brahmanas. The Brahmana, Dvija Patni. What do they represent? What do the Brahmanas represent? तो जो ब्राह्मण है ना,
Attachment to the rituals.
Pride due to one's position in Varnashram. Because of that also one cannot come to Krishna. Pride due to one's position in Varnashram. They refuse to give Krishna and Balaram food, saying that they are Kshatriyas and we are Brahmanas. They don't understand, right? These are, that's why, right? Krishna says that beg in the name of Balaramji. Because he is at least Kshatriya, I am Vaishya. Krishna will not give me. Yes.
Like I said, during the time of Dwapar Yuga, you had these Brahmanas following Asuri Varnashram, not Vaibhav Varnashram.
Yeah, so that's there also. It's not that. Yeah, sure, why not? There are people who are, the Brahmanas were much decent folks actually. Those who Kamsa and gang, you see all the demons in Krishna's pastime there, so I say कोई demon अभी है ही नहीं. होता तो बलि देते.
Demons like
Big demons were there, right?
yeah, but even demons like Hiranyakashipu, they were following Varnashrama well, but for their personal sense gratification, not for pleasing the Lord.
Yeah, so these people are also doing the same
That's
thing.
what, no.
Yeah, so they are there. Such people are there every time. Why not? Why do we think that?
Less, you mean to say?
Yeah, the proportion is, and such people are also there. Nowadays, even such people are less. There are so many people who are strictly following Varnashram.
Grass.
That is also not there. There, man. Today, there is a very extremely gross society. Hare Krishna. I don't know. Something happened suddenly.
Power charging.
The Anga disc. Hare Krishna. No, yeah, outside. Okay, right? Indra. What does Indra represent? See, the charging is an issue over there. Anga loose connection hai ka sudden?
In that, right?
You off it. Oh, but it's working. I don't know. Great. Okay, let it go. Yeah, it's charged maybe, that's it. Yeah, Indra represents the tendency that I am supreme. You know, the Devata tendency. Because he was thinking like that. Then there was Varuna, who kidnapped Nanda Maharaj. Right? What does that represent? Krishna rescuing Nanda Baba from Varuna Devi. It represents the tendency that spiritual life can be enhanced by intoxication. Because Varuna is associated with Varuni, which is an intoxicant. Thinking that spiritual life is enhanced by intoxication.
How is this intoxicating?
No, many people think like this very seriously. That spiritual life can be
Staying high
enhanced by intoxication. Yeah.
The people who take this ganja,
Yeah.
it actually, I mean, they really believe
Yes.
it is going to elevate them.
Yes. People believe it.
Oh, there is one photo also on local.
Even Prabhupada's father, he would give ganja to the sadhus that would come to the.
Yeah, people think that. In our ISKCON history also, there are cases where in the initial days, some gurus thought that we have to be a Mahabhagavat to be a guru, but we are actually not Mahabhagavat. So what to do? So they would take some intoxicant like LSD to show states of ecstasy to their disciples. So we have had all the experiences.
So how does this example show intoxication? I mean,
Because Varuna is associated with Varuni, beverage drink, intoxicant.
so taking his father, Nanda Maharaj, I mean, is that something connected to Nanda Maharaj represents something?
Harming the devotee.
Oh, yeah. What does Nanda Maharaj represent there? I'm not sure, I didn't think in that sense. Maybe I have to study that. Yeah, maybe I'll look into it. Good, next. The snake swallowing Nanda Maharaj. There is a snake, right, that swallows Nanda. What does that represent? Impersonalistic behavior, because that devours Krishna consciousness. Because the snake swallowed Nanda. Next is Shankachuda. What does Shankachuda represent? Remember Shankachuda who was killed by Krishna and Balaram? He represents the desire to enjoy under the plea of devotional service. Bhakti ke naam pe enjoyment karna. Why? Because Shankachuda was lusty and wanted to enjoy the gopis. So, for example, Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj gave, Prabhuji is preaching to Mataji in temple. Looking for Mataji customers to preach to. Desirous of sense enjoyment under the plea of devotional service. Arishtasur. What does Arishtasur represent? Anyone remember? Chala dharma, cheating dharma. Why he represents that? Because bull is a symbol of dharma. Right? Bull is a symbol of dharma. So because that fellow came in the form of a bull but was doing all nonsense, he represents cheating dharma. Kishi represents what? The next demon is Kishi. He represents the feeling that I am a great devotee and a great guru. मैं बहुत बड़ा भक्त हूँ. Because it is said among all animals, the most proud animal is the horse. That's why it is said as proud. A horse always walks with its neck up. It looks up only low. He thinks it's very great. The horse. It's actually said like that. The horse is a very proud animal. And because he came as a horse, he represents that feeling which everyone could have.
I'm a great devotee
And guru. I'm a great personality. मैं बहुत बड़ा आदमी. And finally, Vyomasur represents thieves and rascals who put forward themselves as avatars. Why? Because Vyomasur was a thief. He stole the boys and cars. So thieves who pose themselves as great people. Yeah. So basically, this is a very small summary that I made. If you are interested, you can read this whole stuff up. And maybe I have whatever document I have typed, I'll mail that also to that.
This is chronological order.
Yes, chronological. All the 21 demons who come in Vrindavan.
20 only came.
20 only came?
Yeah, whatever you
There are
said.
21. The second forest fire. I forgot that. There were two forest fires, right? Second forest fire stands for disruption of religious principles and interference with religious people by atheism. Why I didn't say that is because why he represents that I forgot to note down. So I don't have that with me. I have to search where Sorry for that.
Second forest.
Yeah, deception. So anyway, so Krishna, so I'll just now just conclude this, go back to this Paravastha discussion and conclude that. Okay, so as we saw earlier, Rupa Goswami explains here that how among all the forms of the Lord, three forms are extremely special, and among them, Krishna is the most special. And one reason for that is all deliverance work is done by Krishna, all the demon deliverance. Yeah. And any demon killed by any other Vishnu incarnation again comes later when Krishna comes to this world. So Krishna faces maximum demons. So that's why he arranges Kurukshetra. So like one stroke everybody can be finished off. Right? And he delivers everybody. Correct. Good. Then another reason he says, very good reason, he says that all the names of Vishnu are also applicable to Krishna with a different meaning. So he says that all Vishnu's names are also Krishna's names. So he says, for example, like Adokshaja. Adokshaja means, one second. Adokshaja means born again. So he says that there is this verse which says that when Krishna killed Shakatasura and the cart broke down, all the cowherd boys that time gave Krishna name Adokshaja. So the name Adokshaja, though it applies to Vishnu, it applies to Krishna also. So that means all Vishnu's names, that means all the names, like for example Rama, we all say this, right? When we chant Hare Krishna Mahamanta, the Rama is Krishna, right? Rama is the supreme enjoyer, Ramana. In that context, it's Krishna's name. So that means all the names of Vishnu are also Krishna's name. And he gives a long list of it actually, I'll just say 2-3. Another name he gives is Upendra. Upendra, for example, is the name of Lord Vamandev. But in the Hari Vamsha it is said that when Indra, he comes and begs forgiveness from Krishna for having done all the mistakes that he did. He says that, hey Krishna, the demigods in heaven will glorify you by the name of Upendra. Upa Indra in this context means someone who is superior to Indra. Because you did something by lifting the Govardhan hill and crushing my pride that you are superior to me. Hence your name henceforward is also Upa Indra. So the Upendra means two things. One is that Vamandev, unka naam Upendra hai, younger brother. So there the Upa means a different thing. And here it means a different thing. So the Sanskrit is used. Like for example, Keshava. Keshava, Lord Narayan is called Keshava. Why? Because Ka Isha Va. That means Ka Isha Vayate. That means Ka is Brahma and Sha is Shiva. Right? And Keshava means one who controls Brahma and Shiva. So this is the name of Lord Narayan. But because Krishna kills Keshi, the Vishnu Puran says he is also Keshava. So like this whole description is there here actually. So I'm not going into all the details. But how all Vishnu's names also applies to Krishna's name. So that means as you go into the Paravastha, in fact he says also that how many Vishnu's names apply to Ramachandra as well. So you can go into all that in great detail if you want to really, understand and analyze this whole thing. That in the Paravastha forms, as you go higher and higher, all the names to all the Vishnu personalities keep applying to them with a different meaning. And in Krishna, every name applies. All the names have meaning directly in Krishna's pastime only. There is a revelation. That's what Rupa Swami says, with quoting examples. He's saying that in this way, Krishna is the Paravastha. He is the most perfect of all forms. Because he includes everything else. He includes everyone else. Everyone is included in it.
Isn't the name Ram also, no?
Yeah, Ram he said that. Huh?
Ram, name of the Ram.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I said that. Yeah, Ram. Yeah, certainly.
The names which you are taking, Adokshaj and all, they also have different names. Adokshaj, but Prabhupada says that it is beyond.
Yeah, correct. But that's generally the name of Vishnu, right? Adokshaj. Yeah. Or Keshava. The examples that I took, Keshava, Upendra, Adokshaj, these are not actually Vishnu names. With a different meaning in the context of Vishnu. Rupa Goswami says it applies to all the Paravastha forms and ultimately every name applies to Krishna. Every name applies to Krishna. So you see him as someone who is including, who is the most complete manifestation of the Supreme Personality of God.
While applying tilak or doing archman, so what should be our consciousness? Like name of Krishna or name of Vishnu?
Acha, Keshava Narayana. Well, I don't know, going back to Jaidul Palace, if you can apply tilak, that is great. I think the main reason why we are looking at this discussion is to understand that, why we are ISKCON, International Krishna Consciousness. Right? Why Prabhupada called it ISKCON? How Krishna is the most complete form of the Lord.
So he discusses pastimes also, Prabhu, all different internal. Three.
No, the whole book is in the form of argument, counter-argument, Purva Paksha and the opposing view and his view. He says an opposer will say this, but the answer to that is this, and this is the quote for it. It's presented in a very
So mainly
scholarly
the
way.
conclusion is how Krishna is supreme.
He comes to that. I mean, I'm presenting actually the most easiest part which I briefly went through. Yeah, I'll just take one last part from this book and conclude today's discussion. Yeah, so then he goes on to the Bhagavatam, 10th canto, and proves from the Bhagavatam 10th canto how Krishna is Paravastha, the most complete form. So recently I heard something very nice. I think maybe last month there was one Garuda Prabhu who gave a Bhagavatam class in Chowpatty. Along with Maharaj, he gave a class. He's a big scholar actually. And he was mentioning this point that the scholars, he was naming some scholars in American universities. He was saying that some scholars recently said that the Bhagavatam 10th canto poetry is the most exquisite and sweet. It is the best poetry. And he was saying that generally academic scholars don't make any absolute statements. So it's a very rare thing for them to agree that the Bhagavatam 10th canto Sanskrit is the most exquisite among all kinds of poetry those scholars have ever seen in the world. That was their conclusion. So that is some praise, that's a real praise of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? Yeah, so it basically says that many people may feel that why aren't the Purusha avatars Paravastha? Because he presents again the opposing viewpoint. That how the demigods headed by Brahmaji go to Vishnu, and then Vishnu says that Vishnu broadcasts this message. So then he goes into real technical details from the Bhagavatam, taking several verses and pointing out very specifically why certain word has been used in connection to Krishna. Like for example, this one verse is there in 10th canto, 1st chapter, text 23, which says, Vasudeva grihe sakshad bhagavan purusha paraha janishyate tat priyartam sambhavantu surastriyah. Where it says the Supreme Personality of Krishna, who has full potency, will personally appear as the son of Vasudeva. Therefore, all the wives of the demigod should also appear in order to satisfy him. So, this message is one of the messages that is delivered to Brahmaji. So, then he goes into that technical thing, that how this verse very clearly says that Sakshat Bhagavan, Purusha Paraha, who is the original person, he is going to come. So, this Garbhodakshay, this Shirodakshay Vishnu is only relaying the message. But the person who is going to come is someone else only. Correct? The Supreme. So, then he has this, so he also says that, for example, what does it mean by saying that the wives of the demigod should appear to satisfy him? So he says the meaning is the wives of the demigods should come to the earth and become maid servants of the Lord's consorts. Because when the Lord comes with all his wives and everything, they need servants, right? Maid servants. So who will take that maid servant position? The demigod's wives will take them. And in this way they will serve the Lord. So that is the message actually. So Rupa Goswami explains what does it mean by saying that the wives of the demigod should satisfy him. Is the Lord saying that it's not that the Lord is saying that they should become his consort. He is coming with his consorts as well. And those consorts need maid servants. Which is a great facility which is offered to the... Come on, why not? In Dwaraka when Rukmini is standing and fanning Krishna, say maid servants are bringing the chamber and everything, right? Not ordinary ladies are going to do that job. That job is reserved. It is a reserved post. Some reservation here. Original concept here reservation. Some post blocked है. किसी को कुछ नहीं मिलता. Right? It is reserved for the wives of the demigods to do this service.
But these ladies are the expansions of the wives, they are not the actual wives, right?
Yeah. The expansion of the but it's considered the same person, right? As in, it's considered that those people are only because that's the message that all the demigods should appear. And let's see exactly what he says here. No, he says here that they should come down to the earth and take these roles. That's what he says.
No expansion.
Yeah, the demigods' wives, they should come down. The line is, the demigods' wives were members of Lord Vamana's entourage, sitting over there in the heavenly planets. They should descend to the earth for the Lord's pleasure to become the maid servant. Yeah, in the sense expansion because those places are not vacated. Exactly. I understand. Yes. Yeah. In that sense. But it's considered the same person. It's considered the same person. Yeah, correct. And then he goes on, like, of course, many other discussions we are already familiar with, so I'll not go too much, but because we have heard all these discussions already, like when Brahmaji is offering prayers in the 10th canto, 14th chapter, saying that to the Lord that are you not the original Narayana? You know those verses are there? That are you not the original Narayana who has come to this world? So Brahma also in those verses very clearly refers to Krishna as someone who is beyond Narayana and everything. And similarly he takes all the other verses from Bhagavatam where the Narayana's consorts are praying to enter the Rasalila, or all those kind of references from the Bhagavatam. And another thing, he quotes from Padma Puran. This was quite interesting to me, saying that the sages of Dandakaranya, the 16,000 sages who met Lord Ramachandra, what was their prayer? Not to become Lord Rama's consort. They directly asked, we want to be Krishna's consorts. They also knew very well that Ram can bestow that liberation on them. So he quotes that verse also from Padma Puran, where the sages of Dandakaranya are saying that please give us that facility where we can become consorts of Lord Krishna. And Rama blesses them that way and goes ahead. So with Ram's grace, they get that position, as a benefit of seeing Ram. So that means even though they met Ram, they knew that they have to get Krishna's association in order to experience the most complete manifestation of the personality of Godhead.
So they were the same 16,000 bro.
Those 16,000.
Oh, they are all
yeah, so that's why we say among the gopis there are many categories.
Groups,
some are from the spiritual world, some are the sages, Munichari, Nisichari, all these different categories are there who have all come. Can you imagine whole day of the Brahma, people are awaiting that event. Krishna is coming. So many demons are waiting. अभी एक भगवान ने ऑलरेडी मार दिया लेकिन फायदा नहीं हुआ.
Quarter finals, semi-finals and finals.
Quarter finals, semi-finals, finals. Finally, we have come to Krishna's presence. And all these other munis and rishis and what to speak of all the sadhakas who are doing bhakti and who want to go to the spiritual world, they also have to come to Krishna's presence and participate in Krishna's leela. So कितने लोग रुके हैं, my God, if you count, you know, all the devotees, demons, everyone is waiting for Krishna to come.
Such a great event.
It's a great event, and that just happened. That Prabhupada says only 5,000 years ago. Because that also recently हुआ. Okay, so there are many other reasons as well which is speaking, but I'll we'll take this some other time. Okay, thank you very much. Any question? Yeah.
We hear that they said
Yeah, even I had heard the same thing, but Rupa Swami says very clearly. See, he gives quotations from all these shastras. We have to take it.
Another question, like you were telling about Krishna doesn't break
Laws of material world.
So but we see in War of Kurukshetra also, Krishna does something which is not as the law, like we covered the sun with the Sudarshan.
No, that's what I'll just get back once again. I unfortunately don't know where I read or heard this, that this Jayadratha illusion, I'll get back to you. But what I just encountered somewhere was that the Jayadratha illusion was only for Jayadratha. तो जयदत्त का पर्सनल इल्यूजन था, सनसेट हो गया करके आ गया सामने बुद्धू जैसा. बाकी सबको सन दिखाई दे रहा था वहाँ पे.
न्यू भारत महाभारत में दिखाया कि वो इसको भी पता चलता है.
शकुनी
सबको पता क्या है दूसरा
only that Jayadratha has a personal illusion. The sun is not set. Krishna, yeah.
Okay, except this he is not done any other.
Good.
See, of course, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so some things like, can we think of something where Krishna violated some law?
Yeah, violated. उपजा को उन्होंने उठाया.
Correct. उपजा को पूरा बैक स्ट्रेट कर दिया, टक करके, सर्जरी. Yeah, correct, he did it. Correct, why not? Even giving Draupadi unlimited sari was a violation of the law of the material world. It's not a law in India कि सारे निकल रहे हैं, सारे आ रहे हैं.
Bro, it is also heard on
Krishna jumping.
No, Krishna himself, nothing happens to him. So he jumps. Because he was saying he didn't break his bones and landed in a fracture.
Bro, I had one past time, even this day of war, now when it was fixed, Duryodhana fixes on a particular day, Krishna goes and changes that. He comes to Sahadev, he fixes a date that no, this is Amavasya or something, that is the date, then he will be victorious. If Krishna comes and he changes the whole thing, one day before or something he does.
I don't know, not sure. Yeah.
Even killing the Bhima's grandson before the war day.
Whose grandson?
Bhima's
Son.
Babruwan.
No, Arjuna's son, Babruwan.
No.
Yeah.
There was someone who said that I will kill you.
Bhima never had a grandson. Bhima's one son was Gadotkacha, he was killed. Another son was Sutasoma, he was also killed. Grandson हुआ है, जो अर्जुन को grandson थे.
There is someone whose head Krishna cut just
Yeah,
one day before the.
वो तो देखता है.
Babru.
हाँ गाड़ी से.
From girls' names. Dwarka Barbaric.
I don't know.
Actually, he had the power, no? There were 2 arrows with him and he was making 3 arrows something.
Who? Oh, really? I think 2-3 things are very important in this discussion. Many stories which we hear now, they are not actually the Vyasa Mahabharata. Like for example, this Duryodhana giving 5 arrows, Vyasa Mahabharata में नहीं है, वो folk tale है सब. तो बहुत सारे folk tales हैं, हमारा understanding बहुत बार confused रहता है. So we have to actually see where is the reference, what is being spoken about. And the principle that we are talking is generally he does not. So he may do, that's his Leela. But the point is, even the pure devotees did not expect that he will keep doing Leela all the time when Krishna was personally there. And what to speak of, in Krishna's Vira, when sadhakas are practicing bhakti, Krishna doing pastime with Ravana, which is again what we expect, which is a little bit too much only. Yeah. Yes, Mandi.
This question is also asked by Ravi only. I don't answer. He asked that Shivji is the
Good, he's asking you very questions.
Shivji is the devotee of Krishna. Krishna.
Lord
then,
Shiva,
yes. Then why he gave blessing to Jayadratha, which was responsible to Abhimanyu, who was the nephew of Krishna.
Oh, okay. Actually, first of all, Shivji does not give a blessing to Jayadratha to kill Abhimanyu. Technically, no. The blessing that is given is he can stop the Pandavas on one day.
Except Arjuna.
Except Arjuna, only 4 of them. He can just stop them. That means he can keep them at bay. The consequence of that is this. Now we can understand that in many ways. One way, like Maharaj gives this class actually, why Krishna did not save Abhimanyu, where he says that the Pandavas made many big vows. And even they had to pay a price to get those vows fulfilled. That means the Pandavas also said things beyond their capacity. Like for example, when Arjuna said, that I will single-handedly kill all the Kauravas in one day, or Bhima said that I will kill all the 100 Dhritarashtra Putras. So things like this, it's like you have over-committed beyond what you can also do in that context. Of course, the Pandavas are powerful, but let's not forget that the Kauravas, backed by Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Jayadratha, and that whole gang was also quite a big portion only. So there is a price that everyone had to pay. Again, we are coming to the same point. That's a material world. You have to put things. Then again, if you look from the Adi Devic perspective, that story is that Abhimanyu is some demigod who had to come down only for 16 years. Correct? And quickly he had to come back. So that is also there. So in many ways, if you see, it is true. And Shiva generally plays the role of destruction. What to speak of this? Shiva only blessed Ashwatthama to kill all the 5 sons of the Pandavas, because Lord Shiva is the empowerer of Tamoguna, right? And when you want to destroy something and do some big ghastly activity, Tamoguna has to be activated. Shiva is there only. Why not? How will you answer your child is a different thing.
That night was equivalent to Brahma's one night.
Yeah, that's what I have heard. I mean, right? How have you heard that? Ras Leela is.
Is it a folk tale or
I don't know. I heard this from Maharaj in Vrindavan. So we didn't ask too many questions. What happened in America then when there was a time? Yeah, Vrindavan, America made it. Did the experience for proper We don't know all that. So I think, see, something about the technicalities of Vrindavan, we can never ask questions there. There it's at an emotional level. There are questions. Questions you can ask about Kurukshetra. That's all. You cannot ask any questions in Vrindavan. इसलिए भारत की यात्रा में वृंदावन में क्वेश्चन आते थे चले रहे थे ऐसा क्यों नाच रहा है ये क्वेश्चन के बियॉन्ड है just love the past time, that's all. I remember this one more thing. I remember there were 2 devotees of Prabhupada who came to Prabhupada and argued in detail that how the population of Dwaraka that is given, because in Krishna 10th canto is said that there were 38 million teachers to teach the children of the Yadava dynasty. So basically 38 million teachers are there. There has to be at least 380 million students, because you need one teacher for 10 students. And if 380 million students are there, then how many parents, what is the total population of Dwarka? And it seems like more than 1 billion in Dwarka, and that is the population of India today. So there was 2 devotees who went to Prabhupada saying that if such is the population, how many toilets you need in Dwarka for everyone to pass food and urine and everything, and how that is insufficient in an island of this many kilometers by this many kilometers. So Prabhupada heard all this peacefully and then told them that you can enjoy the material world. Basically the point is that when somebody gets too stuck with those kind of issues, the only solution for him is to enjoy sense gratification, because now he has got enough reason why not to believe it.
And also Ugrasena.
I'm not there, you have point.
Ugrasena also has shown
material laws, so this material law.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, it is basically achintya. It's achintya. See, certainly Krishna's Dwaraka did not experience traffic jams or anything. It was a very nice life. But how exactly it was managed, we just don't know. It's achintya, at least from our perspective.
Also interchange.
Yes.
But that was also manipulation.
Yeah. So you are saying that Krishna manipulates material laws a lot.
No, I mean, you were asking for examples.
Okay. Yeah, fine. Fair enough. Taken. Okay.
This right brain ulcers cannot be understood by left brain.
Very good point.
What?
Micro.
The right brain ulcers cannot be understood by the left brain.
The emotional answer cannot be understood in a interaction. That's the point. Logical. In general. No, I'm not saying about you. In general, we are talking. There's nothing about what you asked. What you asked is fine, no problem. Right brain question cannot be answered by the left brain. That's what?
Right side,
Yeah. See, that means there are two sides, na? Emotional and intellectual. So when the Shastra is making an emotional point, from an intellectual way, we cannot try to hammer that and understand why it is like that. Right? Any other point? Yeah.
What you said that it was only his illusion, personal illusion. So
I'll just see that once again.
what does that show? I mean, Krishna obviously, I mean, the Supreme Lord is capable of bringing the sun, but then so the other people will misunderstand this, right?
They were thinking this fellow is foolish to come in front like this. Why is he coming and jumping up and down?
No, that is also Krishna this one, but not so much disturbing the entire thing. That's what it is.
Any other point?
Can I ask a different question?
Yeah.
So actually there was this email, I think Deenabandhu Prabhu said about some book distribution. Some book distribution email. So he has sent a WhatsApp message.
Butcher.
So there are many messages like this coming where he said that there were these butchers in Russia and there was this book distribution happened and someone threw the book. Those who did not have teared off the book and threw it off, and then others came and they opened those teared off pages and they understood that it was written all in English, and then suddenly he met the devotees and he became a great devotee like this with another family. So and then at the end the book distribution ki jai, what Prabhupada books can do, this is such amazing thing. So we hear these things and I was just thinking is it not becoming does it not become too much one-sided of thinking even like this? Because if that butcher had to actually get Krishna consciousness, he would have got Krishna consciousness in any other way also. So why only book distribution? Because when suddenly we speak about these things now, that this is how amazing the book distribution is. So I just wanted to understand these things, that even sending, because nowadays these messages are coming and once in a while we open it and we see these things. So I also get a little bit disturbed here that am I doing the things rightly, or maybe I should be also going out and doing book distribution.
I think we need to again see this from the right brain, left brain perspective. Some things are more kavyatmak and more emotionally stated, and they cannot be taken too rationally. As in, it's likely that, like we say, someone tore a book up and threw, and later he became a devotee, or those things are there now. Potato sack fell on someone's head. He asked the question, "Who am I?" Outside, and then someone said, "Go to the temple."
And after 1 year, another potato
So some things are more. So somebody wants to see a devotee is उसका सेवा book distribution है, उसको सबको inspire करना है सेवा के लिए. So don't take it. And sometimes something happens that is presented in a very, I wouldn't say that things are added, that would be too much to say, but it would be presented in a very emotional way. That such a thing happened and he became a great devotee. So it is perhaps likely what may have happened, perhaps from a very intellectual perspective, is this fellow must have done this, and later he must have felt these are good people and he must have been ready to come to the temple or something. But it would be presented in a little exaggerated way, so to speak, because it is not that at that point, that particular incident is not being presented in a very intellectual way over there. That's not an intellectual discussion, that's just an emotional thing. So I think there bringing in the intellect is again, we just leave it at that and see the emotional part of it, that yes, when people get our books, they are benefited in some. That's the mood over there. But if you go to the intellectual level, what everything you are saying is correct. You think it's easy for such a person to sustain Krishna consciousness? What is speak of faith? If you hear Ravindra Swarup Prabhu's description of ISKCON history, he makes this point very clearly that ISKCON had to suffer a lot because he says that the kind of people who came in Prabhupada's time, he said most of them were this hippie crowd which had terrible samskaras. So it was not easy for them to continue after Prabhupada left. It was not easy. So he in fact presents it in a way that even during Prabhupada's time, there were so many challenges because the crowd that had come to ISKCON was not a cultured crowd. It was a hippie double dropout from society. He says that. Double dropout, he calls it. Who had taken all kinds of drugs, this, that, and just now they have just come here. So with such people, to sustain this kind of spiritual commitment is very difficult these days. So when you look at from the intellectual level, all these things come true only. And the same thing is applicable to all the butchers who would have perhaps taken I think that point is present and emotional. Yeah.
But still the fact remains that that person has become a vegetarian, right? Or whatever. Even that transformation is something which is...
Yeah,
and
again, he has to sustain it. Becoming is one thing, sustaining it. Very difficult, it's not easy.
In fact, it is written also in the message that Gupta Solution is only the first part. Second thing, goes and meets the devotees, sees them chanting, dancing, and that's when he's actually, through the devotees, is inspired. But I mean, everybody can take what they want to from that actually.
Yeah.
Bro, even if that is never, that doesn't mean that only for other. Why should?
Yeah.
And that also actually is, as Prabhuji is making the point that there are places where temples are not there, where the books, there the books will revive, as Prabhupada said.
Prabhupada also made separate, the DVD is separate. So
Yeah.
with that was the understanding. That even if it is not, books will revive.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Jai Guru Brahmanande.